As the Microsoft Atlanta building rises into existence here in our city, we will all rise and shine together with the launch of Microsoft's The Garage Atlanta, showcasing the many thought-provoking artists and visionaries right within our company. The Garage Atlanta is committed to stoking creativity and innovation and building and fostering our Atlanta community. Learn from local artists, be inspired so we can all shine together. Rise and shine, Microsoft Atlanta. We'll meet you at the Garage.
So Jamal, we're sitting here at the Mint Gallery,
Yep.
which is located in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're sitting among some compelling artwork. This is your artwork.
I like the word compelling.
Compelling. It is definitely compelling. It stands out to me. I like the colors, and I'm sure it tells a story.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that story.
Yeah, so I've been in grad school for the last 3 years now. And so this is the kind of final piece of graduation that you do. You write your paper, you do a thesis show. And so this year, obviously with COVID, like kind of changed a lot of things. And so I usually do printmaking work, print-based work. And it's usually black, graphic, it's bold. I tackle issues of identity and social commentary. And you know, for the mode that was in, when you're out in the streets, like it works. But then when the lockdown happened, I couldn't print like one of my blocks and still had a show coming up. So I ended up painting. And kind of that change to painting let me question a lot of stuff that I was doing. And it led me to some revelations about the subject matter that I was gonna tackle and what was necessary in the time. Because in the pandemic, when you're at home, with your kids and you're just trying to maintain, maybe you might run out of toilet paper, maybe you might not, you know, that whole thing. And just, I had to find another way to exist and another way to define what I see as Black identity that has nothing to do with the outside world. Like it has to do with what's inside, what gives you joy, what keeps you going. Like what do you strive for, what do you see for the future, in particular for my kids. And it becomes all about us when it's just us, like literally, you know, keep everybody away. And so I embraced it, and I embraced the change, and I embraced color, right? For what the definition of Blackness could be. So in my prints, I was using the color Black as a cipher for Black people, Blackness, like all of that whole language that goes around intersectionality and like all that stuff. That language is unnecessary when it's just you.
That's right.
Like in your own quiet space, like in the universe with your family. And so I had to think of something new, a new language, and how I wanted to see my kids not just as Black by definition of some outside force, but how I define it. And so that's where everything started.
Wow, this is what came out of self-reflection.
Right.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And it's funny, you mentioned colors. You said your artwork is centered on the color Black, which is how you said you believe the outside world sees us, and playing into that in your artwork. But truly inside, it's vibrant, it's compelling, it's eclectic. And so I'm excited to look at your artwork from the beginning, the very first piece that you created when you did that self-reflection and you said, this is the direction I would like to go, and just take us through that journey. You ready? Let's take a look. So Jamal, is this piece number 1 in the collection?
Yeah, I think this is the moment where fullness really started. Because this is how most of my wood block prints start off, where I take a piece of wood, I draw it out and carve into it. And so it has that red wash on it so I can see my marks. And so even if you look at it, you can see like the different pencil marks and like the X's and all of like planning and kind of readjusting the foot and everything that goes along with it. But what happened, I was planning on printing it in April, and in March, the lockdown happened. And so this is like way too big. It's a 3 foot by 4 foot block. It's way too big for me to print by hand. So I was like, I never printed it. And so that kind of was the moment where I had to switch up my practice. And that's when I started going for painting, right? Embracing like a completely different medium, what was available to me at the time. And so that really started the self-reflection. This was my primary medium, was
Okay.
woodcuts. All my print work was based on that. And it had like this graphic edge, it was aggressive. You know, it had like, you know, different patterns and lines into it, but it was really single subject about confronting white supremacy or any other thing that was trying to redefine blackness as negative. It was propaganda. It was trying to like convey this message that we are black people, I'm free, you know, I'm strong, I got pride. Like it's all that good stuff that I love about blackness. But it was definitely in conversation against white supremacy, right? It was opposing forces that were identifying blackness. So it was like locked in the struggle. And there's nothing wrong with that work. That's what we have to confront all the time, every day. But when all of that is gone, like, how do you define yourself?
How do you define yourself? Wow. Oh, Jamal, this one's a little bigger than your first piece.
Yeah, and so this was the first piece of the series that I started, and I started making these large sheets of roofing paper and painting them with all these different patterns. And I was painting, and I was just searching for subject matter. I was waiting for it to come to me. So after a while, it was so much of these patterns, I started to see stuff. And it took me back to this moment where I went to the beach with my family. The last time I've seen my family because of the lockdown. We were on the beach, and anytime I go to the beach, you just sit there and look out at the waves, and you just think about, yo, it's a lot of water. And then you look at the sky, and then it's like, you think about how it is in the universe.
Yes.
And you really start to think like, this thing is gonna be going even when I'm gone.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah,
But
you're right.
nobody else can be at this moment in my mind looking at what I'm looking at. So in essence, that would make me the center of the universe, right? And so what's important to me? What's special to me? What am I thinking about? How do I manifest what brings me joy, right? And then that's how the whole thing started to develop. So it's kind of a moment of reflection of sitting on the beach, like thinking about your place in the universe. You see the stars and like kind of the motion of the planets and all this kind of stuff. So just how you fit into that larger cosmic scheme of things.
Wow. I'm loving this. More color
Yeah.
you've added. And did you say roofing material?
Yeah, roofing paper is exactly what it sounds like when they put shingles down on roofs.
Okay.
They put that paper down first. Folk artists use this trick a lot where you just buy it, and it's much cheaper than like canvas, where a canvas this size might cost you $200. You can buy 100 feet of roofing paper for like $15.
Wow.
You gesso both sides, and it's just like a regular sheet of paper.
Awesome.
So especially since this is all like experimental, I was searching, I didn't want to invest thousands of dollars on something that may or may not mean anything at the end of the day. So that kind of gave me a freedom. That was part of the process too, is the journey and the discovery of it became super important.
Yeah. So in the garage, you know, we call that hacking, Jamal.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what happened. I was hacking.
You made it work.
I was hacking for
You
months,
made it
and it
work.
took me a long time to get there. This painting took me about 2 months, and like the rest of the show may have took 4 months altogether for everything.
Wow.
But it's that hacking that you were talking about, like that searching for, like, what am I trying to say? What is important? What does all of this mean? So the first thing I did was question everything I was doing in my printmaking practice.
Right.
So if I was using the color black to represent black people, blackness, black identity, you know what? I'm gonna use every color except black to really fill it up and drive that point home that I don't have to limit myself in any way. And even though that was a great terminology, a great concept of exploring blackness, that in and of itself is putting my mind into a box.
Yeah.
And that's not where I want to be. I want to be expansive. I want blackness to be all the layers of who we are as a people can be expressed at the same time. So at the same time, I'm very angry and upset about Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin Steele.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just as happy in the same moment for my son when I see him
Amen.
ride a bike.
Gotcha.
Or I can be just as content watching a movie with my kids and my family, or even still be fearful that, you know, we might not have no meat because, you know, all the packing plants is COVID out. And, you know, that going through that whole ordeal is like, that's what the fullness is. Like showing yourself as a complete individual, not just in the moment of anger and righteous anger, but show everything that you do. It
Yeah.
makes me think about this picture that Martin Luther King is playing pool with Jesse Jackson. Imagine that. Like 1960s, people getting beat as water hoses. He giving great speeches, and they still take time to play a little pool, chill out, like still be just as black as ever. Like I love that kind of stuff. And so that fullness of a man, of a person, of blackness, redefining it in a more inclusionary space, right? I think that's super important. So that became the focus of the show.
Love it. Well, I don't know if you noticed, I changed my shoes back there. I put on my tennis shoes.
Yeah, I see.
Because you said journey. And I was like, we're going on a journey.
Yeah, so as you go along the show, I'm also giving a lot of personal stories, but I'm also trying to present a new vision for how I see black people. Because now that the color black is erased, like how do you fill us in with all the different layers of everything that we are? So you have a piece like this that becomes a portrait. And I think of it more of a portrait of who we could be, like who the vision of us in the future, these people that live in this universe completely free. They have to be changed because they're in a different space that has different rules and physics. So their bodies are different, their faces would be different, the colors would be different, representing happiness and sadness in the same breath, you know, all that things. And so the leaf metaphor kind of continues too, where the leaf is a part of who they are. Like you're a part of this kind of natural order in the universe. So even like you have the background representing this new world that they exist in, it's still coming through in their skin and in their eyes and who they are as a people. So it's all these different layers and these different perspectives coming together to represent this new person, you know?
I love it. And I did notice the theme, the leaf theme, and it plays into the essence of fullness.
Exactly,
well.
Yeah. So you come to the next piece here where the leaves are even more pronounced. This piece is called The Other Side of Heaven. So during the COVID, I lost a few people in my life. And so it's this weird moment where you're happy that they get to go to this next place and be free and no longer suffer, all this good stuff. But at the same time, we're left. Like, and what do you do with the sadness? What do you do with the missing of them? And so that's the other side. So on one side, they're elevated, they're beyond, they're in this new space. But then this is what we have, kind of as nature reclaims their bodies and everything kind of fades back into the nothingness. Like that's kind of what we have and the memories that we have. And we just think about their lives and how we all are gonna go through that same journey. So it's the other side of death that you have to deal with. The happiness, celebration, but also that sadness and the leftovers, right? And that's what, especially with COVID, where we don't get together like and mourn the way we used to. So what do? Try to find your place in the order of it.
Yeah, some inner peace.
Yeah, try to find peace.
Now I'm thinking, we've looked at some of your pieces so far, and I'm thinking, what is your process? This is gorgeous, okay? And you mentioned the leaves and the fullness and manifestation, like here, coming into another realm. Do you have a process where you come up with your concept? What's the starting point for you?
Well, usually, like I said before, I just make these big sheets of patterns. And I think that's a part of the separation that needs to happen, is that I need to not be here.
Okay.
Right here, this world with all these problems and all the worries that we think about, you know, that's not where I want to be. That's not where I'm going to find peace. I need to make a place, a new place. In that new place, it's all the colors. It's all the movement, it's all the texture, it's all the pattern. That is where I want to be. And so after I finish making, and it's a 2-part process because I just make these patterns indiscriminately. So I work in my basement, so my basement floor is just covered with all this stuff. And then just one day I'll walk by and I'll see something. And that something like sparks an idea and I just follow it. And you know, I never know from the beginning, like I didn't intend for this to be about mourning and death. It just ended up coming out in the process. So I mix batches of color in like these little plastic bowls, and I just mix a lot of it and I put it down, and then I put it down on the next one. So a lot of the colors are consistent because it is the exact same color that's mixed up and used on all of them. So after all that layering, it just builds up and starts to reveal, and eventually I know.
Wow.
And then I try to work it to the finish.
I love it. So you have some other pieces over here as well?
So this is kind of like the same as before, showing a vision of what do a free people look like. So I just took a man and a woman. And man energy and woman energy is just two totally different vibes. And I think that's what you see like manifested in these people.
They're gorgeous.
The way that a man would be free is different from the way a woman would be free. But we can still exist in this world and be supported together. And I think they work as a pair, as a set, just giving you like the possibilities of what can happen.
Absolutely. Agreed. And I see the theme, fullness.
Right. The leaves, the leaves are still there.
You know, it reminds me of the song with NDRE, I am not my hair.
Yeah.
I am not my skin. I am within, from within.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it has some great details in it too, because you can see all the patterns that's underneath the skin too. Like it's filling up. Like you have all these layers inside of you. You can have all these emotions. You have all these thoughts. And that's what make you who you are. Just kind of complete view of who this person is. And I think that's what you get at now, because it's hot and cool, right? It's like green, nice and cool and serene, but this orange that's coming by an accent in your face. You know, it's little lines of purple and red that kind of dance through the piece like the entire time.
I love the way you speak to your art. The red dances through the piece.
Yeah, dances like it. No, it's and that's how I feel like even making all of this stuff. It's a dance. Yeah. Right. It's a movement. Like I'm moving all over the floor, like putting paint on this, and I see something, and I'm mixing it up, and you know everything is kind of everything. Especially when you're doing something that brings you joy. Yeah. Right. For sure. If this is like my life work. If people would just not let me pay bills and get out my way, I would paint all day long.
Oh, you know? Wow. So Jamal, there's one more piece I would really like for you to tell me about.
Yeah, this piece I think is kind of the apex of the show, where it's called Where I Find Comfort Belongs to Me. And you know, Blackness is always like prescribed and put into a box. So they always try to tell you, that's what's wrong with y'all, y'all do this, y'all do that. But you know, what if I just want to take a moment? Like, what if I just, after working my whole day, just leave me alone, let me be happy? And it's like something about that moment of not begging anybody for freedom, but just taking your own freedom and finding solace and peace. Yeah. And kind of he's transitioning up, and there's no patterns in the top, because that's where he finds his solitude, like the peace, like it's transcendent. You know, and kind of he's just raising up, and the universe is embracing them, telling them it's okay. Yeah. So I think that's a great moment to end on for the show, because this is true freedom.
It's my understanding that you contribute to the art community in more than one way, and one of those ways would be with a podcast.
That's right. That's right. I have a podcast called Studio Noise. It's a Black art podcast where we talk to Black artists and creators from all around, everybody involved around in the art world. So curators, executive directors, a lot of visual artists. We talk to singers, all types of people. So, you know, anybody that I get into around Atlanta, I want to bring them on the podcast and let everybody know what they do. I like to say that we have all the artists that you want to hear from and that you need to hear from on the podcast. So we always have like big name artists, like people like Bisa Butler, that's in the news for her quilts, and she's big time right now. Deborah Roberts, the legend David Driscoll. He has the David Driscoll Award at the High Museum. Recently passed away. So a lot of like big time artists. Charlie Palmer, who did the John Legend album cover. He did Time Magazine last year. Yeah. So a lot of our guests, I call them the Studio Noise fam. It's because I treat them like family. It's like I want to give you the same experience that I have when I go to people's studios. Like I go as an artist to learn what they do, how they're doing it. And that's the kind of real conversation that we have, where we all are artists and we understand each other. Yeah. And I just want to bring you out those exact same conversations, because I think it's interesting how some people, when you listen to interviews, sometimes it can come very academic, right? It can be like big words, like list of questions, like Barbara Walters style. And that's not how artists relate to each other. Like we hang out, we chill, we know each other's families. Like, you know, we tell each other personal stories. Like I like to get into the nitty gritty behind like what they do. And if you know an artist, you can understand their artwork just that much more.
Yes. Beyond the art, what would you like for everyone to know about Jamal Barber?
Oh, man. I would want you to know that Jamal is a man that loves deeply, right? I love my family. I love Black people. I love even sometimes it make it hard, but I love this country too, right? Like I love and I want to see everybody doing well. And I think that's the essence of my artwork a lot of times. Like all my commentary, all my social commentary, everything I say about Black identity is because I love you and because like somewhere along the line, I want all of us to get the best. And so somehow if my art can be the catalyst of somebody changing their mind or connecting with that feeling, like that's what I want.